Thomas Hartwell's world collapsed when he learned his 16-year-old daughter Emma had been kidnapped. The special agent from the FBI was Rachel Morgan, the girlfriend he had abandoned 10 years ago when she was pregnant, saying he wasn't ready to be a father, and now his daughter's life depended on Rachel's skills. Thomas Hartwell was reviewing quarterly results in his CEO office at Hartwell Industries when his assistant, Patricia, knocked on the door. The 43-year-old millionaire businessman's expression changed instantly when he saw the panic-filled look in Patricia's eyes. In 20 years, his experienced assistant had never appeared this distressed. "Mr. Hartwell, please check your phone immediately." Emma's school called, and then the police. Patricia's voice was trembling as she held out his personal phone with numerous missed calls and urgent messages flashing on the screen. Thomas's heart stopped as he saw 17 missed calls from Riverside Preparatory Academy, 3 from an unknown police number, and 2 from his ex-wife Sarah's emergency contact. His hands shook as he accessed the voicemail from Principal Davidson, whose usually calm voice carried unprecedented urgency. "Mr. Hartwell, this is Principal Davidson. Emma didn't arrive at school today, and her driver says she never came down to the car this morning. We've contacted the police and your ex-wife. Please call us immediately." The timestamp showed the call had come in 4 hours earlier, during his board meeting, when his phone had been silenced. Thomas immediately dialed Sarah's number, his ex-wife answering on the first ring with obvious panic in her voice. "Thomas, where have you been?" "The police are here. Emma's gone. Someone took her from our driveway this morning. They left a note." The words hit Thomas like physical blows. Emma, his precious 16-year-old daughter, the center of his world despite his demanding career, had been kidnapped. The successful businessman who controlled every aspect of his professional life felt completely helpless as the most important thing in his world spun beyond his influence. What kind of note? What do they want? Thomas was already grabbing his keys, heading for the door while Patricia canceled his remaining appointments without being asked. The quarterly results that had seemed critical minutes earlier were now completely irrelevant. "Ransom," Sarah said, her voice breaking. $5 million. They say we have 48 hours or—" She couldn't finish the sentence, but Thomas understood the implication. His daughter's life hung in the balance, and despite his wealth, he felt more powerless than at any moment since building his business empire. The drive to Sarah's house in Greenwich took 30 minutes, during which Thomas's mind raced through every possible scenario. Who would target Emma? His business had competitors, but none who would resort to kidnapping. His personal security was discreet, but professional. How had someone gotten close enough to his daughter to take her? Sarah's house was surrounded by police cars, unmarked sedans, and what appeared to be federal vehicles. Thomas recognized the efficient staging of a major investigation, the kind of response that money and influence could command, but that felt inadequate when his child's safety was at stake. Detective Morrison briefed Thomas on the known facts as he reviewed the ransom note, which had been left on Sarah's windshield in a sealed plastic bag. The kidnappers demonstrated knowledge of Thomas's financial resources and Emma's daily routines, suggesting either inside information or extensive surveillance. The note specified that Thomas should prepare $5 million in unmarked bills and wait for contact instructions within 24 hours. Any involvement of law enforcement would result in Emma's death, though the police presence was already extensive and growing as federal agencies joined the investigation.
"Mr. Hartwell, I need to introduce you to the federal agent who will be coordinating this case." Detective Morrison gestured toward a woman in a professional suit who had been speaking with forensic specialists near Sarah's car. "Special Agent Morgan has extensive experience with kidnapping cases involving high-profile families."
Thomas looked up as the federal agent approached, and his world shifted in ways that had nothing to do with Emma's disappearance. Rachel Morgan walked toward him with the confident stride of someone accustomed to taking control of complex criminal investigations, her badge and weapon visible beneath her perfectly fitted blazer. 10 years had refined Rachel's natural beauty while adding layers of competence and authority that were unmistakably attractive. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional style that emphasized sharp cheekbones and intelligent eyes that had once looked at Thomas with love before viewing him with disappointment and finally with nothing at all. Recognition flashed between them for just a moment before Rachel's professional training took precedence over any personal history they shared. She extended her hand with the formal politeness of a federal agent meeting a victim's family member, giving no indication that they had once shared intimate dreams about building a life together. "Mr. Hartwell, I'm Special Agent Rachel Morgan with the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit. I specialize in kidnapping cases involving minors and will be coordinating the federal response to your daughter's situation." Her voice was steady and authoritative, the voice of someone who had earned her position through competence rather than connections. Thomas shook Rachel's hand while processing the impossible coincidence that had brought her back into his life under these circumstances. The last time he had seen Rachel, she had been telling him about the pregnancy that would change both their lives forever, and he had responded by choosing his career over their future together. Rachel had been a promising young FBI agent when they met, ambitious and dedicated to her career in federal law enforcement. Thomas had been building Hartwell Industries from a small regional company into a national competitor, working 18-hour days and traveling constantly to secure contracts and financing. For 2 years, they had navigated the challenges of demanding careers while building a relationship based on mutual respect, shared intelligence, and genuine affection. Rachel had understood Thomas's business pressures while pursuing her own advancement within the FBI's Organized Crime Division. The pregnancy had forced a choice that Thomas had approached with the same analytical mindset he brought to business decisions. A child would complicate his expansion timeline, divide his attention during crucial negotiations, and require emotional availability that he needed for managing his growing company. Thomas had explained to Rachel that neither of them was ready for parenthood, that their careers required focus that a baby would make impossible, that waiting until Hartwell Industries was more established would serve everyone's interests better. He had offered to pay for the procedure that would solve their immediate problem. Rachel's response had revealed the fundamental difference in their values and priorities. She had wanted to embrace the pregnancy as a natural evolution of their relationship, while Thomas viewed it as poor timing that threatened his carefully planned professional advancement. The argument that ended their relationship had been devastating for both of them. Rachel had accused Thomas of loving his business more than her or their unborn child, while Thomas had insisted that building financial security was the responsible foundation for any family decision. Rachel had left his apartment that night and never returned. The engagement ring he had given her was left on his kitchen counter with a note saying she had misjudged his character and his capacity for putting others before his own ambitions. Now, 10 years later, Thomas found himself entirely dependent on Rachel's professional skills and experience to save his daughter. The irony was overwhelming that the woman whose heart he had broken and whose child he had rejected was now working to rescue another child, his child, using expertise developed over the decades since their separation. Rachel coordinated the investigation with practiced efficiency, directing forensic specialists, communication analysts, and surveillance teams while maintaining constant contact with FBI headquarters. Her competence was evident in how other agents deferred to her judgment and followed her strategic direction. Through the investigation coordination, Thomas learned that Rachel had become exactly the kind of federal agent she had dreamed of being during their time together. She specialized in cases involving child victims, had an exceptional success rate in kidnapping investigations, and was considered one of the Bureau's most effective behavioral analysts. The kidnapping investigation proceeded with methodical precision as Rachel's team analyzed the ransom note, processed physical evidence, and began tracing potential suspects. The kidnappers had demonstrated sophistication in their planning, but had also left subtle indicators that experienced investigators could exploit. Rachel established communication protocols with Thomas and Sarah, explaining the likely timeline for contact from the kidnappers and the procedures they would follow when negotiation began. Her calm professionalism provided stability in a situation where panic would have been completely understandable. As evening approached, Rachel briefed Thomas on the investigation's progress and the tactical options they were developing. The kidnappers would likely make contact within the specified timeline, providing opportunities for trace operations and tactical intervention that might rescue Emma without paying ransom. Thomas listened to Rachel's strategic analysis while struggling to process the personal dimensions of their reunion. The woman he had abandoned during her pregnancy had built exactly the kind of meaningful career that served others while he had focused entirely on accumulating wealth and business success. Rachel showed no interest in revisiting their personal history, treating Thomas with professional courtesy while maintaining the emotional distance appropriate for a federal agent managing a criminal investigation. Her focus was entirely on Emma's rescue rather than any past relationship they had shared. The kidnapper's first call came at 9:17 p.m., exactly within the time frame Rachel had predicted based on behavioral analysis of similar cases. The voice was electronically disguised, but the caller demonstrated detailed knowledge of Thomas's business operations and family circumstances. Rachel coordinated the call tracing operation while coaching Thomas through the negotiation process, her expertise evident in how she anticipated the kidnapper's tactics and prepared appropriate responses. The professional competence that had attracted Thomas years earlier was now focused on saving his daughter's life. The ransom demand was confirmed at $5 million, with specific instructions for delivery that would be provided in a subsequent call. The kidnappers emphasized that any law enforcement involvement would result in Emma's death, though they seemed unaware of the extensive federal investigation already underway. After the call ended, Rachel analyzed the conversation for behavioral clues while coordinating surveillance operations to track the kidnapper's location. Her team had managed to narrow the search area significantly, though Emma's exact location remained unknown. Thomas realized that Emma's survival depended entirely on Rachel's expertise and the federal team's coordination skills that his wealth and business connections couldn't duplicate or replace. For the first time in his adult life, success was measured by someone else's professional competence rather than his own strategic decisions. Throughout the night, Rachel managed multiple investigative threads while keeping Thomas informed of their progress. She demonstrated the kind of dedication and skill that had once impressed him in personal contexts, but was now focused on law enforcement rather than their relationship. The breakthrough came at 3:30 a.m., when surveillance teams identified the building where Emma was being held. Rachel coordinated a tactical assault that would require precise timing and exceptional skill to rescue Emma without alerting the kidnappers or triggering violence. Thomas watched from a command vehicle as Rachel directed the rescue operation, her calm authority evident even in the high-stress environment of a tactical assault. She had clearly earned her position through years of successful operations rather than political connections or favoritism. The rescue proceeded with clockwork precision, federal agents overwhelming the kidnappers before they could harm Emma or destroy evidence. Rachel personally secured Emma during the assault, ensuring her safety while coordinating the arrest of 4 kidnappers who had been planning similar operations against other wealthy families. Emma was physically unharmed but emotionally traumatized by the experience, requiring immediate medical evaluation and psychological support. Rachel arranged for specialized counseling services while managing the investigation's continuation to identify any additional conspirators or planned attacks. Thomas's reunion with Emma was emotional and overwhelming, his relief at her safety combined with pride in her courage during the ordeal. Emma had remained calm and observant during her captivity, providing information that helped Rachel's team identify the kidnappers and their methods. In the days following Emma's rescue, Thomas learned more about Rachel's career and achievements through news coverage and professional recognition she received for the successful operation. She had apparently specialized in child protection throughout her decade with the FBI, saving dozens of young victims through similar investigations. Rachel's success had been achieved while raising the daughter Thomas had never met, a 9-year-old girl who knew nothing about her biological father's identity but had grown up with Rachel's values of service and dedication to protecting others. Thomas realized that Rachel had not only survived his abandonment, but had flourished, building exactly the kind of meaningful career that brought purpose and satisfaction to her daily life. She had found professional fulfillment while successfully managing single parenthood and contributing to society in ways his business success couldn't match. The kidnapping that nearly cost Thomas his daughter had ultimately shown him the difference between success and significance, between accumulation and contribution, between building wealth and building character. Rachel had dedicated her career to saving children like Emma, while he had focused entirely on generating profits and defeating business competitors. Hartwell Industries continued to operate successfully under Thomas's leadership, but he began redirecting company resources towards supporting child protection initiatives and law enforcement programs. The foundation he established focused on funding FBI training programs and victim support services that helped agents like Rachel perform their crucial work. Thomas never attempted to contact Rachel personally or to learn more about their daughter beyond what was publicly available through her professional achievements. He understood that she had moved beyond their past relationship to build something important and meaningful, and he had no right to complicate the life she had created. But the memory of Rachel's competence and dedication during Emma's rescue served as a constant reminder of the path he had chosen and the person he had lost through his own limitations. She had become exactly what she had dreamed of becoming, while he had achieved financial success at the cost of personal meaning and authentic contribution to others' welfare. The FBI agent who had saved Thomas's daughter had also saved him from a life measured only by profit margins, showing him through her example of dedicated service that success could be defined by lives protected rather than wealth accumulated, and that the most important victories were those that served others rather than just advancing personal interests.